you're serving and what the community needs are, and the structure of your college and the overall system within your community. We start analyzing student identity and experiences and how that affects their college going experience or process. And this during stage uses data and student voice to inform that change. We mentioned earlier, right, that quantitative and qualitative data help kind of paint this picture of what that student experience is. But when we're trying to learn about the why students are enrolled or why they're trying to do things, we get those pieces from that student voice, hearing directly from them about what this means for them. That phase of this journey of trying to understand that helps us address those three things that I mentioned earlier: the structures of how our institutions are set up, the process that students have to move through, and the attitudes that they're engaging with stakeholders and each other through that process. During that phase, we then move into sort of implementation or restructuring of supports based on what we know about that student experience and what they need to better support them. Allows us to work more towards redesigning those supports and scaling them to meet students more holistically. So with that being said, with that whole overview, I'd like for you all to just chime into the chat as you think about who your adult learners are. What are some of the existing supports or initiatives that your campuses have that have been very helpful for serving adult learners in ways outside of the classroom? And I'm going to pull in my chat, but Charisse or Esperanza, if you're seeing anything that stands out, please feel free to call it out.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of basic needs support, food pantry, comfort closets, checking the laptop loaner program, 24/7 tutoring. Sympathy training, that's an interesting one.
That did stand out. Kid furniture and play packs for service areas is cool too, but the sympathy training I'm curious about, so definitely ask about that in a bit.
Housing proposal, since they have someone that has residency halls, that's wonderful. Lactation rooms. Success coaches embedded in the course that can provide non-academic support.
Emergency rental assistance. Yep. Okay.
These are great.
Thank you to who put Trio in there. Shout out to Trio. I am
yes.
a product of Trio programs.
Yes. So somebody asked, what is TRIO? TRIO is a federally funding program for low-income first-generation students. And I think that includes, at least for the student support services TRIO grants, it also includes students with disability. Family-friendly campus events. No problem, Angela. Great things, great things. Okay. Summer Bridge for adult learners. On-site enrollment for Medicare, SNAP.
That's super important. Just connecting the campus, just connecting individuals to other outside resources and just letting them know how to go about the application process. Yeah, that's awesome.
Technology support. Immigration legal help. Yes, and there are some good questions also coming in about are these services all centralized or served by department? I'm sure it varies per campus. Mental health services so important. I know someone mentioned free mental health services too. So someone asked about the Summer Bridge program for adult learners. So they're expanding on how it provides 6-week introductory courses in manufacturing, healthcare, and developing. We also have a Summer Bridge program at the college, but it's not just focused on for that population. So that's a really good one. Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. We'll share out this list and keep those different types of programming coming. Add them to the chat. We'll be sure to get those lists added to our resource page for the summit itself. But let's hear from you, Esmeralda, about sort of what this holistic work looks like at Broward and how you've been able to support students throughout that journey.
Sure. We can go to the next slide, please, Andres. So before we jump into the examples, I want to go over a few things. Specifically, wanted to start giving you a little bit of an overview of what is Broward College, how and our population. I think sometimes we go to a conference and depending on the college, there are certain things that you can or cannot do or other college can do because of their size. So I just wanted to give you a picture of that so that you can compare. So as you can see here, our average age is 24. So we are very, very familiar with the 25 plus adult population because that's the majority, half of our population. A majority of our students are part-time. And what our students tell us is that they are part-time because they have to work. It's not rare for us to hear a student has to work 2 jobs, not just one, to be able to make the high cost of living. We're located in South Florida, so it is a high cost of living for everyone. So sometimes it becomes very challenging to manage it all. Another interesting fact about Broward College is that half our population are first generation. And our students, we are a minority majority institution as well. So next slide, please. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is sort of a lesson learned and the importance on adult learners' length. So once you understand the population and the adult learners population, you're going to start seeing all the services and holistic student support through that lens. And that is more on, and Andres alluded to it in the infographic that he shared, that is more of a cultural shift, right? It's like we can embed these supports for adult learners in everything that we do. It takes science, it takes funding, and it takes, but first of all, it takes an awareness because there might be services that you're already providing that could be tweaked or switched to be also supported of adult learners as well. So I'm gonna go over a few examples of that as well. So next slide. Before we start talking about what a specific example of students holistic support that we have, one of the things that is very, very important is to set up a strong foundation for the existing learning supports that you have before that. So we were talking about the student voice, know your students' challenges. And I know some of you put in the chat too, how important that is, right? So we totally agree. This cannot be overstated. And sometimes we do supports by what we think the students need, those because you talk to students often, but that is not, we cannot get comfortable on that. And really, really, we need to talk about students. We survey our students and survey them often. And we also do focus group. And somebody asked in the chat how often survey, like an hour, and it's almost every, we sometimes survey them a lot, but our surveys are very specific. But that's the way that we get the information. And we always tell them this is so that we can support you better. On our experience, when there is a support that the students are really interested in, that is actually matters to them and is important, they're going to respond and they're going to take the time to fill out the survey. So depending on their support, we can do it as often climate surveys once a year or every 2 years. Other type of surveys, we usually do it in the semester, in the middle of the semester, once they're all setting. So that's one of the things that we do, and we take that before we start if it's a new support initiative, before we do anything else. The other aspect that we do is definitely disaggregate the data. And we tend to disaggregate data by demographics, and that's totally, of course, we need to do that first. I always say that once you disaggregate your data by demographics, it tells a completely different story than when you have your full aggregated data. But I also want to talk about disaggregating your data based on the support that makes sense. So let me give you an example. So we conducted several surveys on class modalities. We wanted to know what was the preference of our students, why they choose a class modality that they choose, which one do they prefer, and why they choose that. And one of the things that we did, besides disaggregating by age, was disaggregate by pathway. So pathway for us are a career majors program. And we found that the preference in modality, the preference in day or time of class offering, sometimes was completely opposite of each other, depending on the pathway program that we were doing. So we felt that that was really good, that we went that way and decided to do that. Leveraging existing supports. I think about all the supports that you offered. What are the operations of all those supports? Are they your typical Monday through Friday, 9 to 5? Can you switch any hours to evenings and weekends, even if the hours of evening and weekends are online? That our students constantly tell us, our adult learning students, that the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 doesn't work for them. They either, if they're in class, they're rushing to work, or they're in work and they're coming in the evenings. So they really don't have an equal access to the supports that are available to them, right? Even though, so that is very important for us when we were considering supports. And big impact entails scaling supports. And I know how challenging that can be, and finding sustainability through grants and things like that. And I'll talk a little bit on that. When we change something, we want to make as much as a scaled approach as possible so that we can impact the majority of the students. And communicating supports. I don't know about you all, but this sometimes becomes very challenging because there's a lot of communication going out. And sometimes we have the most wonderful support services, but not all the students know about it. That breaks my heart when a student say, oh, I didn't know about this. I think it's hard because we feel like we do, but I feel like we can do better. And I think for the adult learner, piggybacking on what Andres said about feeling unique and having unique needs, they really need that to be personalized, the way that they communication. And let me give you an example. We were dedicating a lot of time on social media and campaigns of our support. But when we surveyed the students, what they said, we actually specifically asked, how do you like communication and where do you go? Not only what you prefer, but right now, where do you go to get the most important information on the college if you need to? And they surprised us by telling us their learning management system. So that is not an area that we were capitalizing on to promote holistic student support for our students. So we're glad we asked them about that. And when you think about it, it makes sense because they go to that portal every day. That's where they go to do their classes, they go to do everything. So they were not going to the Broward College website. They were not going to the social media or the tons of emails that they get anyway. So we started shifting, we still communicate in those areas, but we started shifting where we're putting our student supports and communicating our student supports. And that now we have links and resources and everything. And we collaborate with faculty. And when we send a student support announcement, we ask faculty, please add this into your learning management system shell so that our students can have access to. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about specific examples. I am super, super, super excited about this one and very proud of that. So one of the things that the class modality surveys yield, and I know we talked about it and some mentioned in the chat, is flexibilities. Our students, adult learners, need to be flexible. And I think one of the biggest aha moments of the results of those surveys, which we did several times prior to the semester starting, so that we can actually affect change on the calendar, right before the academic calendar was set, is that it appears that no longer we have online students, face-to-face students. it appears that our students, from what they're telling us, they like to pivot. They like to take an online class because it's a lecture class. So to them, it doesn't make sense to travel to and spend gas and spend time on that. But they like to take face-to-face classes, for the ones that are more labs and things like that are more hands-on. Others like to pivot and choose class modality based on what the circumstances that are happening in their lives. So maybe one semester they're doing, they tell us, so last semester I was doing face-to-face, but this semester I prefer online because I had so many sick in my family that is a dependent and I have to take care of them, or I lost my job and I cannot afford to travel. So ideally to them, they would like to see a mirror where everything is offered face-to-face, but also um, online. So we were very, very proud of rolling out officially a new modality that is called flexible learning. So what that does is the student can actually, not all classes are like this, it's volunteer for the faculty, but our flexible learning classes means that there is an actual physical classroom for the class, and the student can choose if they want to join in person or if they want to do via Zoom. The faculty will always be there. So the student, let's say, they can come in and take the class on, be in person, but if that day their son is sick or something happened or they cannot make it, they cannot leave work early and they cannot make it to the class, they can actually zoom in into the class and still take advantage of what the classes have to offer without missing it. And I feel like this would be the ideal scenario for our adult learners, because again, it offers staff flexibility for the students. Office hours are also offered in that capacity, that they can come in for the faculty. They can come in person, or they can also do online. So we're loving that. And I think our students are going to love it too as well, because in their words, it's the best of both worlds. And that's why they like that support. We also have peer mentoring in our institution, and we have a very robust peer mentoring program. We have 104 peer leaders, and it's an AmeriCorps program. So talk about sustainability. So that's how we can sustain that level. And the goal is to mentor 1,000 students for the academic year. So we're getting close there. And then one of the things that we do is when we match a peer mentor to a student, and so we do it by pathway. But lately, in the past few years, our students have asked us by age. So we have had some students that said, I would like to be paired with a more mature student. And we're seeing that more also in a specific pathway. So health science, nursing, those students are very clear on what they want, what they need. They want things fast. So they have requested. So at the request of the student, if they want, our adults, we started then hiring and recruiting adult peer mentors, so that when a student asks for that preference, if we're able to, then we're happy to accommodate them if that's what they want. But that's something we didn't do at the beginning. We didn't even think about it until the students themselves voiced that that's what they would like. The next one is single stop and outreach services, which we discussed a little bit about the importance of having access to resources in the community, as Andres was saying. So the way it used to work before was we have a case management system, outreach office. These managers handle everything that has to do with basic needs, food insecurity, housing insecurity, that sort of things. And they connect students to resources inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So when it used to be before, the students submitted an intake form saying, I need assistance in this area. And then the student had to wait until that staff gets the form, triages it, go through everything, then call the student, try to find a time that they meet and everything. So what we were trying to do is cut that time and reduce that time, because we wanted the student to have the resources available immediately. So we went with an organization called Single Stop. And what they do, if you're not familiar with Single Stop, is the student still has to complete an intake form, but they are completing the single stop intake form. And as they're completing it, they get immediately feedback right away. Let's say it takes 10 to 15 minutes to complete the form, on all the services, federal, state, local, all the resources that they pre-qualify for. So a lot of the single stop believes that a lot of people do not apply for resources because they just feel that they might not qualify. But with this one, it tells them immediately, okay, you pre-qualify for Medicare, you pre-qualify for care, you pre-qualify for SNAP. And then the student still has to go in and apply, but they provide the link right there in there to apply for these resources. They provide job guides to tell them step by step on how to fill it out and that sort of stuff. So by the time a staff will reach out to the student, meet with the student, but at that time, there's a wealth of information at the fingertips of the student and also of the staff. So at that point, they can meet, they can discuss what they need, they can go over resources again, help using job aid up for the students to apply. And a good thing for us administrators is that we also get on the side the impact that it's having. So since we started using it in September, our students have taken advantage. There have been a drawdown of 385,000 benefits that they have been able to access since to this, because the students have a portal. And if they did actually receive benefits through SNAP, Medicare, or whatever the resource is, or housing assistance, they also report on that. And we can see that the student actually got the help, which is closing the loop was hard to, because when you reference them out to another institution or another organization, it's just, again, it's hard. Our adult learners are very busy. So taking that time, now they're going to the college, now they're going to this other place to apply. Now it's another time that they don't have time. Normally, those organizations are open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it's hard for them to go and do that. But with this, they have access to all of that in one place, and they have a staff at the college that can help them with that. And in terms of wraparound services, this is the one that I was referring to about through an adult learner's lens. So we recently this year contracted with My College Doctor. My College Doctor offers 24/7 medical telehealth for our students. And they offer other things, but we went specifically with that feature 24/7. They also offer mental health, labs, and that's prescription, that sort of stuff. But when we were reviewing different businesses, one of the things that my college offered that we didn't see at that point, at least with the other businesses, is that My College Doctor, it was included in the package, was for their student and their dependents up to 26 years of age. So that was huge for us. So we chose that vendor over the other vendor because, again, we were looking at all the supports to make sure that we support everybody. So when you have that in your forefront, that this is a population that you really need to support and that we need to provide support with, then as you move forward and start bringing in supports, then you can look at it from that lens. And that has been fantastic for us. Talk about the food pantry. A lot of you have food pantries and mentioned to us well. The food pantry, what we did is we changed the hours. So again, when we revamp all of that initiative, food insecurity, and the first thing that we said, we want to open in the evenings. We try opening some Saturdays too, and at the request of the students, to make sure that they have an experience where they can go, like you and I usually, right? Don't go to the supermarket Monday through Friday during the day, right? It's either on the weekend. So we wanted to mirror that experience for the students as well, that they can prep for the week, but they still have access to the food pantry and not just be during regular working hours. And we also have a partnership with Lyft. Our partnership with Lyft offers students free rides as long as the ride ends or begins at a college campus. Now, the way we are supporting our adult learners is we expanded that to not only include that, but we have had students say that they need to apply for a job, that they need to go to training, otherwise they cannot have a job. So we have the ability to make those exceptions and allow that for the students. The other thing that we do, we expanded it to include C campus. So if you have a C campus grant on your institutions, which we do, that helps for paying financial assistance for daycare in approved daycares that the college has an agreement with. So what we did is we also included Lyft as via benefits. So if you're a student parent and you need to take a Lyft ride because that day you don't have transportation to drop off your kid at daycare or anything like that, then you can use that support. And last but certainly not least, because this is a very big topic now, right? And after the pandemic, is mental health. So we were very lucky to obtain a SAMHSA grant to expand our mental health support. And specifically, the purpose of what we wanted us for this grant is because our current provider does not provide, that one we do have in person, does not provide evening and weekend hours. And again, we thought that was a disservice to adult learners. So now, thanks to that grant, we were able to increase, we offer evening and weekend hours. We had since July 1st, we have over 500 appointments that the students have made during that time. We have increased a counseling session compared to the previous year by 24%, and 16% alone of that is just additional hours. So obviously, we recognize that there was a need, and the students are actually meeting that need as well. So we were very excited that they are responding to that and answering that. And next slide, and I think you are next, I think, right?
Actually, I know we have Q&A at the end, but there's some really great questions coming
Sure.
in that I think we should address now.
Sure.
So the first here is, how is testing handled in the flexible classes?
So I don't want to speak out of turn because this is more of academic side, and I'm very careful in the lane that I state. I want to say probably because the faculty is going to have to determine that. Now, from what I know, we do have an honor log. Actually, I do know the answer to that question. It is up to the faculty, and but we do have, as an institution, when we went to the in the pandemic and went fully remote, we use a program called Honor Log, which monitors and proctors exams the students virtually. So my understanding is the faculty can choose how the testing is, and if they're doing virtual testing, they can just use Honor Log, which is what we use for our virtual classes. So it's not really far from what we're doing right now as well.
As far as that access to virtual classes, next question is, are all your classrooms set up to have synchronous online learning along with a live in-person classroom?
No. So that's why I say it's not all the classes. This is going to be something that we're looking to the scale. If I'm not 100%, if I'm not 100%, we use her funding for that. And then it just takes a while for equipping the classroom to do that. So there's, I don't know how many amount, but we try to make an impact in the amount that we have. And I'm sure we'll be looking at adding as the funding becomes available and we're able to.
Great, thanks for elaborating on that one. This next question's on the peer mentoring program. What's the name of that mentorship program?
So we call it Seahawk Peer Mentoring Program because it's ours. But again, it's a collaboration with AmeriCorps. It's under my office. So I hire the staff, they're Broward College staff, and then the peer mentors are AmeriCorps members.
The next question is related to metrics and measuring access to resources and success. I love that you can track uptake and utilization of supports. Are you also tracking impact of utilization on student success metrics?
Yes, we're very big on that here. We have what we call Power BI, which is a platform that allows for dashboards. So, and I'm going to talk about, and you see the series here for Columbus State. We work together in a student parent initiative, and I was going to talk about that as well. But yes, every time we do every support, we track student success in terms of retention rates and that sort of stuff. But mainly this initiatives and support, right, lead to retention. So that's what we're tracking. And we do, as you can tell, a lot of qualitative data with surveys and in focus group and things like that to make sure to see that we're actually helping the students. For the pantry, we use a new USDA survey because that's already been validated and it's the standard. And for that one to assess, are we actually reducing food insecurity? That's the tool, the artifact that we use for that one specifically. So yes.
What program or how did you extend the one-stop application for outside resources?
So the good thing, if I'm understanding correctly, that's the good thing about Single Stop. So Single Stop already has everything that is out in our community. The students put their zip code and it shows up. And then we come in and customize and add hours. So for example, if a student says in their intake that they are experiencing food insecurity, at the end, what it's going to tell the student for that category is that here's food bank in your area, and here's the food pantry. There's one at this campus. There's one at this campus for Broward College. So it combines the two, and the student can see both. And we have 100% control of the college resources. So we customize, we enter that data for that information, hours of operation and all that sort of stuff.
So I'm going to take a break on the questions there. We'll move forward with the presentation, and then again, we'll go back to the Q&A session towards the end. So, but thanks for taking that break there, Samantha, and going
Sure.
over those questions. We do want to hear a little bit from students directly. We have a brief video that highlights 3 students from 3 different institutions and the way that Holistic Student Supports has supported them. So as you watch this brief video, I want you to consider what types of resources do the students themselves sort of express in their experiences. How would your college serve them based on what they're sharing? And how do these students reflect the students that you're serving? So I'm going to show a video, and if someone can give me a thumbs up to make sure that the video sound is coming through, that would be great.
One of the things that we like to think about in higher education is what's our ultimate goal. And our ultimate goal for our students is to have them really advance their social and economic mobility. And so when we look at Holistic Student Supports, how is it that students will have what they need to earn a living, sustaining wage to be successful in the workforce?
Personally, from my advisor, she'll call me, say, how you doing? How's everything? Anything I can help you with? So at least I know they're there and they think about me.
My experience here with advising has been great. My academic advisors are amazing. They're very supportive. They kind of help guide me through the path. I just kind of laid out a plan of what I want to do, and they're just kind of helping me execute that, and I love it.
Holistic student supports are important because not everybody has the same advantages on their first day of college. If you don't have someone at home that's been through the process, just financial aid can be super intimidating. They might not know which degree program is right for the career that they want to pursue. And so Holistic Student Supports, viewing them as a whole person and proactively providing them that support, kind of levels the playing field for the people that don't have the support elsewhere. We make sure that they get it.
What really struck me and pulled me out of the water one day was I received I think it was a random phone call in the middle of class, but it said OTC. It was actually a counselor reaching out to me because if a teacher or other student sees a behavior change in a student or even faculty member, they can report it and somebody will reach out and make sure you're okay. And for me, that was like, oh wow, somebody actually cares.
We better understand now in higher ed that we have many things that we can control on our campuses that will help improve the impact of the student experience at our institutions so they feel like they belong, it's a place for them, and they can have success there to achieve their goals.
School is such a difficult terrain to deal with, period, that you need that support system. And I think here at NHSC, they provide an excellent support system and we're willing to take advantage of it. I mean, I know there's program here that's willing to help you if you need food, willing to help you if you need shelter for a night or two. The help is there, and I've seen that personally.
We really want them to feel that they are a part of something bigger than themselves and that they have that support network and that they have somebody that they can look to, a network of somebody's to tap into in order to help them to attain their goals.
Regardless of where I am, there will be somebody that cares about me and cares to know my story, and I'm very thankful for that.
When I had lost my son, she showed support, not just academic support, but just really support to our family. You know, she came to the funeral. I kind of just quit going to school and I didn't show up for, a couple months. But within that couple months, they were still checking on me, take as much time as you need. And when I was ready to come back, They were just kind of waiting for me. Usually in the past, when something would happen, I would just drop out or just not come back. And this time it was different. There's no way to say thank you, you know.
So I had that opportunity to hear from students directly. Noticing in the chat, advising seems like a huge element of holistic student supports, and it is. So I'd invite folks to please share strategies that they're finding particularly helpful to help manage those caseloads. So Nicole, thank you so much for asking that question. And then Lori has a response there that might be helpful. But it's really, advising is one of those components that helps guide students through that process, right? It's that human element, that human touch. And it's also those structures and resources implemented and integrated into the college. So you hear the way in which those colleges are really taking the individual and seeing them for who they are, supporting them through their journey, and ensuring that they're successful in a way that's meaningful for them. So I think we have about 10 minutes. I do want to, so again, we were going to do like a brief discussion here, but just reflect on some of the resources that are available on your campuses. I do want to have some time for us to explore a little deeper around this conversation on student parents at Broward. So Esmeralda, I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen here. And if you don't mind, just kind of going into some of those services that you all provide at Broward.
Yes, of course. Now we'll go through this one quickly so we have more time for questions too. So yes, so it's important, of course, it's not to talk about student parents when we're talking about adult learners, right? The half of the students when we survey them and that we know of, more than half are student parents at over 25. So next slide, please. So the first time that we embarked in this initiative was by thanks to the National College Transition Network and World Education. We were able to join an initiative, national initiative for that, and that was together in partnership with Achieving the Dream. And one of the main things that we got from the benefit is that we form a task force at the institution to look at and assess very comprehensively policy, facilities, communities. We did surveys, we did focus group of our students' parents to get to know them. We did a lot of data collection too, and that allows to do that, and we didn't have that. One of the things that we use right now to get data on our student parent in real time is we're leveraging the Perkins collection data. So if you have Perkins at your institution, you should be collecting data on a student parent, single, gender, all that sort of stuff. And what we're doing at our college is that we ask every time the student joins in our portal, the student portal, for the first time that semester, they get asked that question. So every semester they get asked one time at the beginning, first time that they log in. And Perkins can use that data for their purpose, and then our initiative can use and task force that data for our purpose. We found, as I was saying, that more than half our students are from the 26 student parent, 26 to 40, female, the majority Black, Hispanic, and something that we were very surprised about, 6 in 10 are full-time as students and 63% FAFSA. Next slide. So these are the top 4 challenges our students share with us that they have. They have financial challenges. They feel like that's the key, especially after COVID, in helping them. They have a lot of need childcare. Childcare is actually in South Florida more expensive than college, and they have to choose between the two. Class modality, as I spoke to that about already, and what they like. And a lot of it about empathetic faculty. And faculty that see them, as Andres were mentioning, as a student, as a person, not just a student, but a person that has family responsibilities. They want to know that let the student know of the challenges that they're facing, and that the faculty actually can recognize them and honor that as well, because they don't feel comfortable telling the faculty and asking for exception, but they would like the faculty to be aware of that. Next slide. Not quite. And here are the solutions that we came up with. So in terms of financial, we were able to leverage her funding, and we were able to give to student parents $3.2 million to assist them with childcare. We were able to provide the average amount that childcare would cost for an entire semester. The students were very thankful. We heard a lot of testimonials on how, because they're using that money so that they can put their student in during the summer. In summer, they never can afford that. And now the student can actually take classes in the summer, and they were never able to do that, but thanks to this fund, they can. So that was wonderful there. Childcare, again, I talk about the C Campus grant and how we provide a lift, and the new flexible learning modality was a response to that. And one of the key factors, of course, our students spend the most time at the institution with faculty. That's just a fact. That's how it goes. So the more a student support services and a holistic support services are embedded into the classroom, the more impact we're always going to have on our students. So one of the key things that we did with the task force is make sure that it was, we had faculty there. We had a faculty that is the advisor. We do have a student parent club, and one of the faculty that is the advisor for that club is part of the task force. So that's the way we involve faculty in the process, because faculty listen to faculty. So I use our faculty as part of the task force. They tell us what our students' needs are, and then they themselves can go out, and when we do presentations for faculty about the needs of the students and the challenges that they're facing, faculty takes on that conversation. So I think that's it. Yes.
Thank you so much for going through that. I had a question earlier around LIFT. You touched on it a bit. Can you share just a little bit more about how LIFT was integrated into the C Campus grant, the LIFT partnership?
So yes, so basically it's a lot of technicality, but what happens is we have a limited, based on our budget for that semester, we allocate a certain amount of funds and credit that the students get. So let's say, for example, if we have 10 students and in the C Campus that are receiving C Campus assistance, and those students do have transportation challenges, then we work together with the C Campus coordinator, and then we can give the student lift codes for that. So let's say for 10 students, we will give, we can afford to give 10 students each a $100 credit to go towards lift, and for the semester or for the month, it depends on the situation. Sometimes we vary per semester. So I hope that answered your question. So the funds go directly to the student. It's like kind of like a promo code, right? And they enter the code in the Lyft app, and the student can automatically start using that credit. But we control how much we give the students and where can the student go. So they cannot use that credit to go for a friend's house. It doesn't work. So we have the C Campus locations. We set that up on the back end, and that's how that works.
Okay. I'm gonna hop around here on different things that you all do at Broward, but for that peer mentoring program, are your student mentors paid student employees?
Sure. So AmeriCorps provides, the way the AmeriCorps system works is that they are, in essence, volunteering, but they're getting a living allowance, which equates to $14 an hour, $17 an hour, depending on the rank of the peer mentoring. So technically they are getting paid, but the way AmeriCorps packages is that they're volunteering and they're getting a living allowance. So it's a consistent income that the student get no matter what, as long as they do, for us, as long as they do, thousands of hours at the end, which equals, so they are mentoring every single week for that as well. Yeah, so when we were thinking about, I talk about the importance of designing, that is key. So we talk a lot to everyone in our college community of what our peer mentoring, this new scale peer mentor will look like. And repeatedly we heard, if you're not paying them, it's not gonna work. If you're not paying them, it's not gonna work. So once you have that and you do your research and you know exactly what is it that it's gonna look like, then we went after a grant that would allow us to match what we were looking at like. And it's a wonderful program. I know somebody's putting in here. It's wonderful to be part of AmeriCorps. We actually can tat our own horn, but we won an award for the state of Florida because it's through the state of Florida, Volunteer Forward, about a program of the year last year. So we're very proud of all the work that is being done in that area. And my staff in there is doing fantastic. And we look at retention rates, yes, high above. The peer mentoring have a retention rate of over 90%. Some semesters is from one semester to another, 100%. Because again, we're paying them, they're making a good living allowance with them, and they're here on campus, and it's just a great experience for them. We retain 30% of our peer mentor from one year to another, so they love it and it's working out great.
Great, that's awesome. Do you have any alumni that serve as peer mentor, or are they all currently enrolled students?
No, yeah, we do have alumni, yeah, the student, yeah. So the sort of like the main criteria for that, yeah, it's either current or former Broward College student.
I know we have a minute left, so apologies, folks. These are great questions. As we promised earlier, we're going to share some of the resources that were coming into the chat with you all through that Adult Learner Summit resource email and page. I think that's going to go out next week. I'd love to invite you all to join us for our next session here at the summit on peer conversations. There was a couple things that came up around intersecting identities for students. You'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit more with your peers around different types of identities, including student parents, among others, to just learn more about what other folks are doing. I put the link in the chat there, but that being said, thank you so much, Esmeralda, for sharing the great work that's being done at Broward. Thank you all for joining us here today. Looking forward to continuing our conversations virtually here today and beyond with you all as we work to better support students. So thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your time and listening to everything we have to do. And I feel like probably, maybe let me put my contact information in the chat. If any of you have any follow-up, feel free to reach out as well.
Thanks,
okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me, Andres.
Thanks for being here. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.